Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Wallahi, I missed this show. It's just like it's 5 days between the episodes. It's just too much. But welcome everybody to the Rational League. Probably this is the last time we'll speak about transfers before we speak about the Euros and all the stuff that is going to happen. It's going to be next Friday. I'm excited for that, even though I'm supporting Italy, of course, not England. We'll see how it goes. But welcome everybody to the Rational League, where we're going to talk about Douglas Luiz and Julian Alvarez to Arsenal. Phil Foden is set to be the highest paid English player ever with 400k a week. Imagine that. And also, who is the hope for the England squad? Is it Saka? Is it Foden? And the disrespect for Saka and all the stuff, I don't want to dwell on that, but I think Saka deserves more respect, especially from the English media, right? After what happened against Iceland. For some reason, he's the scapegoat for everything. I don't know why. It's just an easy target, in my opinion. And also, there is the Tuchel and Man United and the debate between who rejected who. Is Man United rejected Tuchel? I think it doesn't matter, and I said that yesterday. I don't think it matters. At the end, what matters is they interviewed the guy. So who's going to be next? Now they're going to be linked to De Zerbi. It looks like it might be Southgate. We'll talk about that. But welcome. Of course, Nobbins is still on holiday, so he's not here. So we have Blue Tone here with us. Tony, Blue Tone, if you know him on Twitter, of course, with all the news and all the good tweets about the lineups and everything. So welcome, Tony, to the show. Thank you for joining us. And of course, the regular crew with Rory Talks Ball. Channel in the description. You go subscribe. 6:30 daily Arsenal update. Dan, Chelsea here, of course. Dan, thank you for being here. And the 10th most popular YouTuber for Liverpool, Tom Little, of course, who has a channel that doesn't want to do content on it for sure. Yeah, Tom, how are you doing? How's everybody doing this afternoon?
10th most popular is an interesting one. I've never had that one before.
You're first or 10th? It's either first or 10th. You back yourself or you don't.
I couldn't just be like 7th.
No, it's either first or 10th.
Right, okay. Good to know.
You're first. You're going to back yourself.
Well, I don't know. When I can be bothered. When Liverpool make a transfer, you'll see my return.
It's very quiet for Liverpool, though.
It always is with Edwards at the helm. He doesn't like revealing stuff after he got burnt by the Van Dijk stuff.
Listen, I want to start with Man United and Thomas Tuchel. It doesn't matter who rejected who. What I want to know from you guys, if you guys want to speak about this a little bit, is what does that mean? Is it, again, Thomas Tuchel does not align with the yes man thing that everybody wants now? Does that mean De Zerbi is going to say yes to them? Why would they reject Thomas Tuchel if Man United rejected Thomas Tuchel? Because it's reported both ways that he stopped the conversation, and also some other journalists say that they stopped the conversation. But I think it matters, to be honest. I don't think it matters who rejected who. They just didn't align, which is Thomas Tuchel. We know is someone who just wouldn't sit and say yes.
He actually wants to win, and Manchester United are at least 3 years away from winning anything major. And that's if everything went perfectly for them and everything went horrendously for everyone else. They're probably closer to 5-6 years away from building a squad that can compete at the top level. Tuchel lasts 3 years in a job. That's it. I can't think of many jobs where he's lasted longer than 3 years. 3 years seems to be the cut-off point with him. So he'd be coming in with the complete wrong mentality for what that club needs at this point. They need a rebuild. They need to blow it up and start over. Tuchel doesn't do that. Tuchel wants to win now. I, for one, hope they get Southgate, because that would be fucking hilarious. I want nothing more than for Manchester United to end up with Southgate, because he is horrendous, and he is the furthest thing from a Manchester United manager you could imagine. And if he's the guy that Ineos are going to back to the hills, United ain't getting back anytime soon. It'll be a decade. Southgate is horrendous. But if for whatever reason he's painted out to be this Manchester United saviour, go for it. Please go for it. I implore you to go for it. Like it has to be. You know my thoughts already on De Zerbi. You know I think he's incredibly overrated, and a job like Manchester United would be too much for him.
Okay, so who's left? There's no one left.
I don't know. They should have just stuck with fucking Ten Hag, but now because it's come out that they've started talking to all these other managers, they have made that untenable because they will have angered Ten Hag with lies and deceit. Why not just be open with them? Keeping Ten Hag was probably the best option from the get-go anyway, because the options out there weren't great for the state Manchester United was in. They should have just stuck with Ten Hag, but I think now that bridge is burnt. I think because it's come out that they've been speaking to Tuchel, they've been speaking to De Zerbi, they want Southgate, this, that, and the other. Because of all that, I think that bridge is gone, and I wouldn't be shocked if Ten Hag walked.
The thing I don't get really is why are they only just beginning to talk to De Zerbi now? Like, he's been gone from Brighton for ages. Like, the whole process just seems to have been really bizarre. Like, not getting rid of Ten Hag before the final, but it kind of got leaked that he was going to be got rid of straight after the final, and now taking however many weeks to speak to Tuchel and then to speak to De Zerbi. Yeah, I think the whole situation is bizarre. I think Southgate might end up going there as in a different role. I think Southgate might end up at United, but not as a manager, because I do think he has some.
Who's going to manage then?
Well, that still remains.
That's what we don't know. Huh?
Yeah, but I just can't see it being Southgate. He's not a good enough manager. Like, as much as Ineos may like him as a person, like, surely they can see that he's not a good enough manager. And if they can't, like, United's issues are going to be long term because they are now the owners.
I don't like it. Cannot be Ten Hag it cannot be Southgate for another reason. You cannot have the whole fan base and every pundit saying that Ten Hag, Southgate is not good enough, and then at the end, Ineos is gonna go like, "Yep,
no, but
this is the guy." They're gonna lose the fans from day one.
Unmatched, though. Southgate's PR in the wider sense is actually quite good because
I disagree with you, Tom.
He's seen as the most, well, technically speaking, he is the most successful England manager since 1966.
Yeah, but Tom,
that PR in the media will go a long way.
There is not one Man United fan that wants Southgate. How are you going to sit here and say that PR?
And I agree, Mo. But just trust me on this. The PR that they will dig into if Southgate comes in will start to twist a fair few people, and they'll go, "Oh, you know what? England have got a problem there. He's done the best he could do." This is what the media vultures do, and Ten Hag and Southgate's PR is unmatched. We all are smart people here. We know that Gareth Southgate's true resume is relegation with Middlesbrough. That's his level in the Premier League. But the PR of the national media to try and twist Southgate into this fantastic manager because he's the most successful England manager since 66, because he had arguably the best squad since 66. That is the PR that they'll spin, and that will get some people on side. And he, as much as he's not a good manager, he's a good talker. He can talk a decent game. That'll win some people on side. And ultimately, I feel like it's quite irrelevant what people think, because Ineos just want to do their own thing. Hence why, even though Ten Hag got a lot of backing after that final from a lot of United fans, some even like letters to the club and stuff, it still looks like he's gone. So clearly, Ineos aren't going to be easily influenced by the initial fan reactions. But they have their decisions set. They have their decisions set in their mind.
I want to post a question. Why do we think Thomas Tuchel and Man United aren't working together? Is it because what Tom is saying, he wants to win now? Or do we think because he didn't align with, well, you need to have like your hands a little bit out from the transfer market, we're going to do the work and all the stuff? Because if that's the case, I don't think someone like De Zerbi would go and work with them.
Yeah, I agree.
I don't think they're aligned.
Go ahead, then.
I don't think they're aligned. I think knowing Tuchel as a manager as well, I think actually he'd be a good fit for Manchester United, but probably it's not the right time. I think, like Tom said, they're definitely a few seasons off of where Manchester United as a club should be. And I think if Manchester United were in that position and they wanted to go and win and they had the squad to do it, then maybe Tuchel would be someone that they should look at. Doesn't really matter, like you said, Mo, if he decided to walk or not, to be honest with you. I think the whole point is that they've decided early enough that relationship wasn't going to work. And I think if you don't do that and someone's not strong enough to suggest that there could be an issue here, you end up with a situation like Poch a year down the line, season down the line, that relationship's not working out and you have to split again and it's more payments required, obviously, to the different parties and things like that. It's just unnecessary. And actually, I rate Ineos and Thomas Tuchel for coming to that decision because Tuchel apparently wants no interest in transfers and things like that as well. That's what he said about Chelsea previously. Maybe they want him to have a little bit of power in terms of that or have some sort of say in recruitment. But it doesn't really matter. I think the best thing they've done, though, is both parties have agreed it wasn't going to work. They both wanted different things. The timing wasn't right. And they've not been messy about it. And they've done things in the right way. The issue I have with the whole thing, though, is personally, at this moment in time, I think they sack Ten Hag first, unless they're hoping that by showing this sort of disrespect towards him, he walks and it saves them millions of pounds and not having to pay.
Wow, I never thought about it this way, to be honest.
So that's the only thing I'd say is I'm just not keen on how they've acted in that sense. But it's better than doing what Clearlake have done and discovering a season down the line that you've made a mistake in hiring that manager because it didn't work.
Well, that's the thing. I think like if Ten Hag had self-respect, I think he would walk. But he's
also you've got to have self-respect to get paid like 10 million.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I think he's probably got eyes on the financial side of it, but because it's incredibly it's disrespectful to be chatting to managers behind your back, but kind of publicly whilst you're still in charge. And
I'm gonna, guys, I'll tell you something, to be honest. This is how I see the situation sometimes, and I get accused of Man United agenda. I don't like Manchester United, but I try to be objective. They tell us every time I say we have the structure, we have this and that, but I see someone in a corridor that keeps going right and left. You met with Thomas Tuchel, right? But both knew, as Dan said, that the relation might not be the right one. But you met with him. It's reported. And he presented the project. There was the McKenna links. There was all the media telling us that there is the Southgate links. But no one at the current moment, by the way, has denied the Southgate links. No journalist, no report, no one has come out and said, by the way, Southgate is not part of it. De Zerbi, they said he's not. And then now they're saying they're talking to him. But then I'm supposed to sit here and assume that the board are doing their job and Ineos and Ratcliffe are good because they got Omar Barada, who's a CFO, a chief financial officer from Manchester City, to run the club. That's fine. Wilcox, or what's his name? Wilcox, right? Wilcox, who had a good resume, an okay resume, right? He has an okay resume. And then I'm assuming that everything, the ship, suddenly he was going left and right. I just steered in the right direction right away. I don't believe that. And the signs aren't there. But because these are new guys, we as neutrals looking from outside should give them the benefit of the doubt. So I get it, Man United fans should give them the benefit of the doubt. Why should I sit here and analyze the situation as this is an ideal situation? It doesn't look ideal. You have a manager who haven't quit and you haven't sacked him, who if you sack him, you owe him money, as Dan said. But the guy, you're speaking to other managers and the guy's on holiday, but you don't know who you want. You're speaking to different caliber of managers. So people think that this is as football is the game saying this is hate. It's not hate. It's just trying to analyze the situation.
I think
I'm trying to analyze the situation and come up with, okay, here is, even if
they've kind of got to talk to these managers,
though, finish the last sentence?
They've got to talk to these managers, though, because if they want Southgate, the one thing that Southgate said is he won't discuss any future things until after the tournament.
Okay.
So United do kind of need to at least have an element of a plan B in case. So let's say Southgate is their top guy, but he goes and wins the Euros and then decides, you know what, I'll stay on at England for the World Cup. All of a sudden, if United have just sat on their arse waiting, they're left with no one because the Zerbi's probably not going to sit there and wait around for an entire tournament to see what comes up. Tuchel wasn't. So they've got to do their due diligence and draw up a short list of, well, who could we take if for whatever reason Southgate doesn't happen? So that's what I assume is going on now. Whether I think they should be going for Southgate or not is a completely different argument. But I can see why they're talking to all these managers. The mistake they made, in my opinion, was by deciding they need a managerial change because I don't believe that there is a manager out there on the market who fits exactly what Ineos wants to do. So then you're going to be chucking a square peg in a round hole, but you're spending about 20 million doing it. And then when that inevitably doesn't work, but 2 years down the line, everyone starts going, oh, there's this new fantastic manager from such and such, and he fits all the boxes that Ineos wants in terms of youth development, and I'm willing to hand over power of transfers and tactics in this. Then United will then be sacking another manager and spending another X amount of money on compensation to bring another guy in. There is no perfect fit for United on the market, so they should have just stuck with what they had and waited it out, because no appointment they make now is going to change it.
So I'm not sure.
Yeah, I see Southgate. Sorry, no, I see Southgate happening, or maybe that's more in hope. But I do see that one going through, just because I think he's a yes man. He'll be a coach. He'll go and sit on. He'll get sacked anyway within a year, but he'll be on the field with the players. He'll do as he's told. He'll get given the players he's told. Players will go. You know, he won't get much say basically, and I think he's the type of manager they will appoint. So I could definitely see Southgate. Whereas Tuchel, for the exact reasons Tom said, don't see that one happening, just because he wants a ready-made project, a bit like Zidane, maybe someone like that, who will only walk in if they've got 11 top draw players and everything's all there. Tuchel won't last anyway. So that one definitely isn't going to happen, and both parties have probably agreed that anyway. It probably isn't one or the other. But yeah, United are shambles. I mean, it seems mad to me that we're talking of Southgate and people like this for, this, I hate to say it, but this giant bloody club are being linked with Southgate and maybe lesser degree De Zerbi and people like that. An enormous club like this, who used to be able to attract all the players they wanted, all the, whatever they wanted, and now it's, oh well, we'll have Southgate then, and all the fans are in uproar. It's great, but it's just balmy to me.
I just don't see how it's tenable. Like, let's say you're right, Tom, in the sense that they want Southgate, but obviously they can't do anything with that until after the Euros. Like, they can't be in this position for the next 5 weeks until the end of, okay, maybe we don't get out of the group stage, but potentially, if we can't, the next 5 weeks, if they're just in this limbo, because by that point, Ten Hag will be back from holiday. Players that aren't at the Euros or Copa America will be coming back to preseason training and stuff. Surely you can't still be in that position. Like, I just don't understand. I just don't see how that could possibly work. It's just the whole thing. The whole thing is genuinely bizarre.
We're talking about
with owners that haven't yet proven themselves in terms of what they want to do with a club and how they want it to run, or not owners as such, but what are they, investors and in control of the footballing side of the business. Yeah. But anyway, I think you're spot on, Rory. That they shouldn't be able to do that, and they can't do that. But the worst thing they could do is be managerless. So they'd probably rather Ten Hag be in a job, conducting pre-season when they get round to it, making sure that people are still getting on with things. And then ultimately, if they decide that Southgate's won the Euros and he's the right man for the job, or something like that happens, then there you go.
They'll find a reason to get rid of Ten Hag, even if he's doing pre-season.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, Tom. So but if they sack him, say they sack Ten Hag next week, right? And then they're in limbo of no manager, and they've got then pre-season starts and they don't have a manager in. They'd be better to keep Ten Hag in, start up pre-season with a manager who knows the players, knows where they're at as a squad, than bringing in an interim coach for 4 weeks or something like that. They'd be better just to keep things as they are and then sack him, and then obviously start. Like, I remember Chelsea did this with after I think Antonio Conte. Like, we didn't get someone in for ages. I think pre-season was well underway.
Wasn't it
Sarri?
Yeah. Because he brought Jorginho with him, but that was
I think it was really late.
Through.
So clubs will do this. They'll rather have someone running the show than not have anyone there whatsoever, and it just
be so awkward if Ten Hag is running the preseason and then they come at the end like, you're out, we're getting somebody.
That wouldn't shock me. That it wouldn't be in preseason. What I could see happen is Ten Hag stays on, Southgate leaves England at the end of the tournament, and then Southgate goes on holiday and considers his options until October, when after a bad run of form, United finally pull the trigger on Erik Ten Hag, and then Southgate comes in. That literally, I just see a way for United getting Southgate, and it warms my heart that they want such a mediocre. Not mediocre is actually offensive to mediocre managers. Such a poor standard of manager to come in. Someone who can't handle big egos necessarily. International management is one thing. Club management is an entirely different thing. I'd be very intrigued to see how he's able to handle people on a day-to-day basis across a whole year instead of just 2 weeks and then 4 months away, and then 2 weeks and then 4 months away. Because it's a very different kettle of fish.
Yeah, I don't think it'll matter so much if he goes after the Euros, because everyone's pre-season's going to get messed up a bit with the Copper. Is it Copper America that's on Euros? So I don't think that'll matter so much anyway, even if they put him in charge at the start of August. United need to start thinking longer term and start thinking if Southgate is genuinely the one they want, which we're all baffled by, but if he is the one they want, they wait for him and see him as the long-term fix. We all know in this chat, it ain't going to happen if he goes there. We know he's gone by the time we talk next summer. But if they think he's the man, they will wait on for him. I really don't think him missing July is going to have any impact anyway. They're shite anyway, aren't they?
Yes, guys, hit that like button, people. We have over 700 people here. Big up the people that joined from This Is Football, guys. Hit that like button. It's embarrassing to have over 700 people and just 120 likes. We need at least 350 likes. The like button is how this video is going to go to the next viewer and the next viewer, and how we get. And if you aren't subscribed, please hit the subscription button. I'm on the way, by the way. I'm that close to 22K. So hit that like button, subscribe to the channel if you're new, please. And also the guys' channels are all in the description as well. Of course, Rory Talks Ball, Tom Little, Nobbins in the description as well, and also Dan's channel in the description. Of course, we're speaking Man United, but we're moving on from Man United. But Sidi here, thank you so much for gifting 10 membership. First donation of the day, Sidi. Thank you for the support for the channel. Really appreciate you, Sidi, for supporting the channel and gifting. So if you became a member now, this is it. You thank Sidi for it. Thank you so much, Sidi, for that support and for the donation for the channel. Get involved in the conversation if you want to support the channel, if you want to get something in, if you want to get a super chat. Thank you so much, people, for supporting the channel. Moving on from this, what should we talk about? We got about 3 topics we can talk about. We got Foden contract, we got the Saka and England hope, and we got the Douglas Luiz and Julian Alvarez to Arsenal. If that happens, which one? I'll let you guys pick, to be honest.
I mean, the Saka England hope confused me. Are we just deciding to pin all the hopes of the tournament on Saka?
No, to be honest, it's a title about like, why is he disrespected? Because why they put his pictures on? Why is Saka the scapegoat for England always? And don't give me, and it's like, is it an easy target? Because it's not only that, he's just an easy target for people for some reason. He's just that easy target for everybody.
Because I think it's absolutely ridiculous how the media act around Saka. I think it's absolutely ridiculous. Well, obviously, I think they jumped on it even more so after that game, because they all ended up buying the same picture, didn't they, of him chucking like the paper airplane? Yeah. And that was like what was on the front and on all like the Twitter pictures and stuff around the stories of it. And to be honest with you, I think they probably just used that. He's already their scapegoat. He's already their target. And as soon as they get a picture like that, they just use that even. It just fuels them even more. But I think, to be honest with you, that the way the press have acted around this whole situation is absolutely ridiculous. And to be honest with you, it kind of borders on the line of bullying, in my opinion. I think it's absolutely ridiculous. So I know a lot of people have spoke about it an awful lot, but I just think it's ridiculous that's why they jump on that. It's not down to, like, Saka's 2 years in a row England Player of the Year. Like, come on.
Should I ask something for real? Should Saka start actually for England? Has he been the best right wing in the league this season? Is it based
Saka
on
form?
For
England.
Yeah, I don't. He might not have necessarily been the best right wing.
Is it based on form, or is it based on what he did for England before?
It's based on, you can't just narrow national team down to one thing or the other. Harry Maguire had crap club form for 4 years, and at one point didn't play. Yet, if you didn't have him in England's back line, England looked significantly weaker. In fact, if you
don't have him, you would have won. Why you never
wouldn't
thought about it like this?
We would not.
Maybe
know.
if you didn't
We
have
would
him,
not.
you would have
No,
been
because
better.
we weren't losing because of Maguire either. That's the thing.
Maguire was
But maybe you
old.
could have
Maguire
played-
made
maybe you
two
could have
teams of
played
the
better
tournament.
if it wasn't for him.
No,
Maguire
there
made
wasn't-
two team of the
yeah.
tournaments. He made
agree.
team of the tournament in 2018, team of the tournament in 2020. Last two, the only one he didn't make was World Cup 2022, and he was still England's best defender that tournament.
Yeah,
Is
he
he a
came in injured
fantastic
to that as
centre-back?
well,
No.
did he not? Like, for that.
That was the one where he weren't
By
really
the
playing
way,
before
I'm
that.
going to tell you guys, I think this notion that players' form at the club doesn't carry to the national team, whatever country it is I actually think it's true, actually. It's only England and only the Brazil striker where Richarlison plays somehow, right? But I don't think it's just, it works like this. Yeah.
So do you not think Saka should be starting for England?
On the right side, no. If it wasn't for, no, I wouldn't.
Who, Mo,
If-
just
if-
out of
yeah,
interest?
Oh, Foden. I can give you the lineup that I
Right.
want, I think.
Foden on the wing. Oh my god, I sound like Nobbins. Why are we moving Foden out the middle?
Because there is Bellingham.
Yes.
Rice,
and-
Bellingham, Foden should.
But
be
you're
in the middle.
see the thing is, Mo.
So,
I think,
okay,
I
guys,
think
you think it's an agenda against Saka, right? I defended Saka all season.
no, I just no, I just
You
think you're
heard me
trying to do-
before, but I don't like shifting players. Like, I'm not sure if Saka can
That's
play
what
on
you
the
just
left.
did.
But you're shifting
You're
Foden.
shifting
You're
Foden
shifting
out to
Shifting
the
Stewart.
Foden
right
out to the
when
right
we've
though.
all-
Okay, so here's the thing. Foden played half the season on the right side. Yes, he might not have been as magnificent as in the middle, but you can have Foden.
But then Saka played the whole season on the right.
I'm gonna finish or no? Please. Like, at least you can debate the point after I'm done with it. Like, I'll let you finish your point.
Go ahead. I'm-
Foden does what he does sometimes. Can he do what he does sometimes for Manchester City, where he drifts inside, play behind the forwards on the right side, right? That's what I think can happen, especially
have
when you
no
have someone
attacking
like
width.
Bellingham. You have Bellingham who makes late run to the 18 as well, but you
Yeah, we
have
don't
to
have
play to it. I don't think that the problem is you cannot play Bellingham after he played as a false 9 all season, Foden, and you play Harry Kane as well. This is what I think, to be honest. I think Cole Palmer has had a better season than Bukayo Saka on the right side, even if you want to take it from that side.
But has
I
he-
think. Go on.
He hasn't played for England, so we don't know. By the way, I'm just going to give you that, right? Saka has played good for England because we haven't had... Saka has been arguably the best right winger in England for the last 2 years. No questions for me. Last season was great. Even this season, he delivered numbers. But Cole Palmer hasn't played for England yet. How about maybe if Cole Palmer plays, he'll be better? Maybe. Who knows? We would never know. I'm not English, though. You guys are. We would never know until he plays.
I don't think Cole Palmer. Not that Cole Palmer's not earned it in terms of his form in the league, but he hasn't earned it to start for England yet because Saka's not done anything
So
wrong.
how do you earn it, Dan, if you never play?
I think
for
Saka
England?
has to make a mistake
Palmer's just played the last
or
2
not
games.
be good
though.
enough.
Yeah, he
Or
did, yeah.
if say Saka has a quiet game for 60 minutes and comes off, and Palmer comes on and changes the game and scores a goal
He
or
starts
something
the game
like that.
after. That's what
Yeah,
you
then
think.
Southgate
Okay.
might have a reason to say, look, maybe I should go with Palmer. But I don't think Saka's
I love
done enough
this
yet
logic is
not
absolutely
start.
fantastic. This is a fantastic logic, to be honest with you, Dan.
But
I like
Saka
that. See what
fits the
Dan is
team.
debating me, and I raised my hand and said, I love this, Dan. What
No,
he
but
said
then
is great.
I'll give you this point as well, Mo. England's
I'm
best
not
player.
stuck on my opinion, by the way.
England's best player for me in the past 2 games, and probably the player who has been most underutilized under Southgate, in my opinion, is Trent Alexander-Arnold. Because Southgate doesn't like Trent and the way he plays. But if you watch the last 2 games, especially, but you watch him for England in the past year since Southgate started having to play him, Trent Alexander-Arnold's won man of the match a lot of times, and he's been England's best performer in a lot of games. So it's almost a point of, right, well, you've kind of got to fit him in. If you put him at right back, even though I think he could do a job in midfield, England have a lot of great midfielders. So I can see the point of putting him at right back. If you put him at right back and you have Saka on the right wing, not only do them two have a proven link up, which has been showcased plenty of times in the past year. I think the only player Trent has assisted more for England is Kane than Saka. But Saka also is the best option on the right to help out defensively for the situations where Trent Alexander-Arnold is caught out, as we've seen this season with Saka in Arteta's buses. Saka gets back and does the job. helping out Ben White when needs be. Gives you balance on that right side. It gives you balance overall, which then allows you to arguably put Foden and Bellingham in the midfield together, because you know you've got protection down the wings, so you can just sort of conglomerate everything together in the middle and sacrifice a little bit of defensive solidity for attacking prowess. And then ultimately, I think Cole Palmer's very good. He's not a winger. I think Palmer's more of a 10. I think he likes to drift inside. Okay. Saka can hold the line, which, if you've watched England recently, they massively struggle to do. So everything gets forced into the middle, and they look very blunt. Whereas when it's also why I think Grealish should have went, because Grealish holds the width very well. So you're able to spread the game, and then them runs that you pride Bellingham on and you pride Foden on. There's actually the space for them runs to actually penetrate and have an impact.
There's a massive problem with the left, but I actually think now, I'm convinced with what Dan said. Thank you, Dan. And I actually think this is what my lineup would be, but I don't know who plays left wing, by the way. It would be Kyle Walker, John Stones, Gay on the 3 center backs like Manchester City. Trent as whatever you want to play him, inverts next to Declan Rice. You play Bellingham and Foden behind, Saka on the right side, Kane. Who plays left? I don't know. I'm done here because he didn't take any left winger. Played Bowen who played right side.
Gordon.
Oh yeah, Anthony Gordon.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Anthony Gordon made it. Oh, he wasn't cut.
He actually had quite a good game the other night against Iceland as well. It
wasn't. Or even
I think that's a good lineup.
Yeah, I thought that. Rory,
when you have Kobe Mano outside, you have Kobe Mano, you have Bowen, you have Ivan Toney, you have Cole Palmer.
Ivan Toney shouldn't have went. By the way, I stand by this. Ivan Toney going is a shambles.
Do you not think it's just if Kane gets an injury and it's like last resort, Tom?
But then you got Watkins for that.
Yeah, I know. But the thing with Ollie Watkins is that you might have to slightly change how you're going to play. Like the system has to change more drastically to include Watkins than it does to include Toney in the setup. And also,
I've watched Tony play.
Tony's couple of caps for England have arguably been better performances than what Watkins have been for England.
Yes, but I think if you're taking Tony on the basis that Harry Kane's going to get an injury, and then that injury doesn't come, then you've kind of wasted the spot.
I hear you on that, by the way.
I feel that spot could have been better used because England have 2 problem positions, left wing and left back. We haven't took a left winger who exclusively holds width, and we haven't took a left-footed left back, bar Luke Shaw, who for all intents and purposes could be dead. So Branthwaite could have went. Grealish could have went, but instead you're taking Ivan Toney, who, if we go to penalties, he might be useful.
There's no reason for him to go 3 strikers, to be honest.
And even then,
but
if you're after a striker who plays like Harry Kane, Solanke scored 20 goals this season. Toney got 4. Solanke not going is a travesty, but Toney is. That's the part that gets me. I think a couple of the selections Southgate made in that team just don't make a lot of sense in my mind. And I feel that he's left behind a fair few players who could have done, who could have massively helped out England's balance problems. Because if you've watched the last 2 games, there is no balance in that team. And also Kyle Walker, I don't think he should be starting for England either.
He definitely should be starting. He's the one that will allow Trent to invert.
Do you know what? I don't think there's enough.
Where's Trent playing to invert then, though?
For me, that's the problem. Trent shouldn't. It doesn't matter. Trent, just put him in the midfield. Just put him in the play 3 in the back.
What, instead of Bellingham, or you had him in there as well?
No. So Declan Rice. Okay, Declan Rice, Trent Alexander-Arnold, Bellingham, Foden as a box midfield. That's it.
Yeah,
that's it.
So we are just playing a box midfield in possession.
Oh yeah, 100. Man City, the last 20 games last season, just a box midfield.
Do you know how long it takes to drill that Man City team to be able to do that? Yeah. You're asking an entire squad of players.
Yeah, but Rory, you already have 2 of them.
3.
Already.
You got Foden, you got Stones, and you got
already 2 of them in the back, which is Stones and Kyle Walker, who have been training for a couple of years with this. You have Declan Rice, who I think is a very smart player that can adapt so quickly to it. You have Trent, who inverted to play that midfield role with Klopp already over the past season and the season before at the end of last season. So already happened for them. It has Foden that played that box midfield this season as well with Man City. So this happened. It happened. Like some of these players are good with this Gay, who's a left-footed center back.
But you're asking Gareth Southgate to take them out onto the training field and teach them how to do that.
Yeah.
That's the issue here, man.
The only thing is, though, Rory, right, and this is where you might argue that Southgate has actually, for a period of time, gone wrong, because he's been in the job so long now. Like, he almost could have turned this into like a part-time club where the whole time he's been here, it's been one system of football, one core of players. And ultimately, if we're looking now, there's like 3 of his, probably not his best players or most key players, aren't going to this tournament. I mean, Sterling's been almost instrumental for Southgate throughout his tenure as England manager. Arguably, form hasn't been great, but that's never stopped Southgate before. He's picked Henderson, Maguire, when they've had no form to be picked on. Obviously, Sterling's playing. I'm not here saying that Sterling should go, but what I'm saying is that Southgate has constantly, non-stop, changed and changed and changed. And there's been no real pattern in terms of how he's picking players, what system he wants to play. We've played 3 at the back. We've played 4 at the back. We've played different midfielders. We've played 2 in a pivot. We've played 1. You know, there's never been really that much consistency for Southgate throughout his whole tenure. And I feel like if the whole time he'd been in charge, he'd had a very set way of what he wanted England to do, would we be going into this one going, yeah, these guys, they can come in. They know how Southgate's going to want them to play. And he's kind of not had a month to do it. He's had, what is it, 7 years? 8?
He's set up every tournament differently. So
that's what I mean, Tom.
Yeah, Tom is right. Every tournament is different.
World Cup 2018 was a 5-3-2 with Sterling and Kane up front.
With a completely different set of players, by the way, who are all still, most of them are still playing.
Was the Euros the 5-2-3 where he had wingers instead of... So he went to 2 midfield and moved one of the strikers out wide and put another winger there. So it was Sterling and Foden. And then Foden didn't play well, so it became Sterling moved over to the left and Saka was on the right to win the tournaments. So we went from a 5-3-2 to a 5-2-3 to a 4-3-3 last tournament because Henderson came in for Mount, who wasn't good. And then you end up playing Henderson and Bellingham as the 8s with Rice in behind. And now it looks like we're going to go into this tournament with a 4-2-3-1. With a 10 and 2 8/6s, whatever you want. There's been no consistency. There's been no identifiable pattern of play. England's best performances came when they were a counter-attacking team, but now teams don't want to open up against us because they see the quality that we have on the attack. So you can't counter-attack a team that doesn't attack. There's no attack to counter. So at that point, you want to try and be front-footed, and Southgate can't coach front-footed football. Because he never played in it and never managed it.
Yeah, I think
that's the main problem.
Sorry.
No, go on, Ted. Go on, Ted.
I was just going to say, I think if we start messing around with inverted stuff under Southgate, like these lads have said, it'll end in disaster. I think just don't mess around too much. It's an international tournament. That is not the time to piss around. You do that in the friendlies and these qualifiers against teams you beat 6-0 anyway, even if you play shy. But yes, just to go back a little bit, Saka would definitely play on the right. I know I'm a City fan, but Foden is one of our best players. I have no idea why anyone wants him out right or left, whether he can play there or not. He should be in the centre with Bellingham, Rice. That 3, they're 3 of our best players, if not the best, maybe with Kane. Why mess around and put somebody out right that is better there and left and all the rest of it? I just don't get it. I'd rather Eze or Palmer or anybody out left and have Foden in the middle. Just going back onto that.
I agree. I think that's the issue is we've got Bellingham, Palmer, and Foden, who all I think play best as a 10. And there are too many people that want to get all of them into the team. And we've done it before with England. It was like when we were trying to get Gerrard, Lampard, and Scholes into the same team. Like, there are some times where you actually have to go, okay, this might be a slightly less talented player who maybe had a slightly worse season, but positionally, they are better in that position. Saka is tried and tested the best right winger that England have. So, yeah, I mean, I'm fed up of just consistently having to defend Saka. I think it's insane. But the other thing is this is a long tournament. This is potentially a 7-game tournament. We have, if Foden gets benched, Foden's played 34 games for England, and I don't remember a single good performance. So you could talk about club level performances and deserving to play on that basis. But how many times do we need to see Foden playing for England? And I'm not saying it's his fault. It may well be because, you know, in Pep's system he's perfect, but in Gareth Southgate's he's not. But how many times do we have to see it before we say, okay, this isn't working and this isn't best for England?
Yeah, the only thing I would say on that, and obviously I'm going to defend Foden, but is how many of those 34 games was it that England played well? You know, and I'm saying well against someone good. San Marino, don't care. You know, against somebody good. And Southgate fans will point out, well, they got to a final. And they'd only lost on penalties in a semi-final in the World Cup and that. But in terms of performances, and maybe Foden is there to elevate it as well and help. When was the last time Bellingham put in a top performance for England? I don't recall. You know, when you're saying Maguire's our best player, that pretty much says, I would say that points to more the coaching around England than, if you see what I mean, you know, than these players like Bellingham and Foden, who are clearly the better players with Kane and so on. But the best player of the last couple of tournaments has been bloody Maguire, which is, just bizarre to me. But I'm just sticking up for Foden in a way. If you see where I'm coming from.
You go look at England's last tournaments, and you go look at the players who were getting all the praise. Pickford, and this isn't to say they don't deserve it, because they did have good tournaments, but there's a pattern. Pickford has been good across all of them. Maguire been good across all of them. Calvin Phillips got a lot of praise for the one tournament he went to in 2021, and he was good in that. Trippier got a lot of praise throughout the tournaments he went to in 2018 and 2021. And the only attacker who got praise, really, was Sterling in the Euros and Kane in the World Cup. But it was only ever one. You'd never see all the attackers on it. Kane didn't score until the knockouts of the Euros, and then it was penalties and tap-ins at the back post and stuff. England are not set up to dominate on international football, which confuses me, because the style of play, I get that Southgate doesn't have a lot of time to work with the players. He doesn't have months on end. But what he does have is months of footage of these players for their clubs. The Premier League is the most attacking league in the world, in my opinion. It's the most high-paced. It's the most high-intensity. It's the league that everyone prides on being attacking and this, that, and the other. And yet all these players who thrive in the league go to the national team and then play shit defensive counter-attack football, which they kind of have to relearn again every single time they go on international duty. Why is there not an understanding that, you know what, we can take risks? Why is it taken 4 tournaments for Trent Alexander-Arnold to finally seemingly get a look in? And if I'm being honest, he's going to end up playing in a pivot with Rice, which is going to damage both of them, because neither of them want to be the defensive one in the pivot.
If he plays pivot, who's gonna be benched? No, I'm not following.
I think what will end up happening, I don't agree with it, but what will end up happening is Walker will be right back.
Trippier, Gahey and Stones.
Trippier will be left back, or Shaw will be left back if Shaw's fit. Gahey, Stones, Rice, Trent, Bellingham on the 10, Foden on the left, Saka on the right, Kane up front. And he'll be wasting Foden, wasting Trent, wasting Rice, and exposing the 2 centre-backs, because you've got a right back who's massively out of form.
Man United.
Yeah, this is exactly why I wanted to coach United, because he doesn't make sense. Kyle Walker's been very good for England, but I don't think anyone can look at Kyle Walker recently and go, he deserves to start for England. The goal England conceded against Iceland, Kobbie Mainoo got fucking grilled for it. You watch that back. Where the fuck's Kyle Walker? The goal comes down that side because he's nowhere. Yes, Kobbie Mainoo could have.
Yeah, Kyle Walker's not even in the frame, by the way.
He's shocking. He's about an hour late to the press. He's an hour late to the press, and then it just gets easily played around, jogs back. And he does that a lot as well. He does it a lot.
This isn't an England problem. This is a City problem as well. I think this is why Pep has been trying to move away from with a Kanji or Stones when he's fit at right back, because it gives more solidity. Kyle Walker is becoming more of a liability. He's still got that pace. I thought that would go by now, but no, he's still got that pace. He just seems to have lost brain cells.
Yeah, well,
and that's a bigger loss.
Yeah, he's never been the sharpest, Walker, but he's been a brilliant player for us. But last season, you can ask pretty much any City fan I've been on a show of, they will say Walker was our worst player in the entire squad of players that played fairly regularly. I'm talking about Sergio Gomez and people like that. But yeah, if you're basing it on form, yeah, Walker absolutely doesn't. But Pep does the same as well. He brings him in because of his pace. And people scared against pace, especially City, where we push everybody back and attack and attack and attack, and Walker's there to get the pace. But it's probably less so needed with England because, it was stifled anyway. So
I don't see the arguments that people make, because I remember last tournament the whole thing was put Kyle Walker on Mbappe and England win the game against France. And Kyle Walker was caught out of position for the first goal, and Mbappe just ran into the free switch. I think Mbappe ended up in a 1v1 pace race against Jordan Henderson.
Yeah,
I needed to have. I felt sorry for any England fan at that point, because I watched Henderson lose pace races to Dewsbury Hall. I knew he wasn't winning one against Mbappe, but that was because Kyle Walker again got caught out of position. I don't see why England don't embrace the attacking talent they've got. Yes, Trent might not be better in a 1v1 defensive situation than Walker. But I'll tell you what, if you play Trent at right back, Kylian Mbappe might not have the same freedom to attack as much as he does, because he can't leave Trent free unmarked 35 yards away. You can't.
I'm sorry, Tom. What did you say? You think Kylian Mbappe will watch out for Trent?
No, kind
I used
of.
his
I do
name
get
as an
what he
example,
means. I do.
but
Yeah,
I didn't get it.
I do get what he means.
So if you play Trent at right back, your winger kind of has to stick on him, because if your winger tries to be smart and stay attacking and try and cheat, which is the term you use, cheat the back line, if you leave Trent unmarked, he can pick a pass out from anywhere. So the winger might not get the ball because Trent might play it through the lines and cut them apart. Kyle Walker is nowhere near that good attacking.
I think it's the other way around. I think you're thinking about it from an English perspective, but I'm thinking about it. If Trent plays and Kylian Mbappe there and you don't cover Kylian Mbappe, you'll concede 2-3 goals.
I think
by having him free. That's it. That's my point.
My whole
I think it's that you're looking. Trent might give you a good diagonal pass or a good pass. Kylian Mbappe running free 2-3 times, it might cause a goal or two. I
mean, for one, Trent
I think you're thinking about it like Vinny Jr. It's not. You don't. Opposition coaches will not play for Trent. Your coach will play for the most offensive. Some of the best players around in the world.
That's my point, Mo. If you play Trent Alexander-Arnold and you leave him unmarked and you leave him free, you'll play, and he's got top quality attacking talent to aim for in the box, i.e. Harry Kane and Phil Foden and Bukayo Saka. You're playing a very dangerous game.
Is Reece James injured? Is that why
I think he went?
Yeah.
He's not injured,
which is a shame because he starts all day.
On the basis of like Luke Shaw getting picked and players like that, there's definitely reason for Reece to have got picked, I think. Especially with an increased squad as well.
The thing is, we keep...
Yeah, go ahead.
We keep... we talk about, like the really specific situation where we come up against Mbappe, which may not happen throughout the entire tournament anyway, but we've got to focus on getting out of the group stage first.
Isn't third get out of the group as well?
The top 4 third-place teams get out of the group.
You definitely get out of the group, right?
But for first game, we come up against Serbia, right? Who are not a bad team.
Yeah, they got a great squad, to be fair.
They're going to play 5 at the back, 3 at the back, 5 at the back, with Vlahovic and Mitrovic up top. We don't need Kyle Walker's recovery pace against Serbia, against Mitrovic and Vlahovic. So I feel like we've got to start focusing on the group stage, and in that group stage, I think we're far better with Trent than with Kyle Walker. So it's easy to say, but what about Mbappe? We'll cross that bridge when we get to it, if we get to it.
I think Tom was just using Mbappe as an example. That what Trent would do is force back wingers potentially. Mbappe might actually be the only exception that wouldn't be forced back because he'd probably back himself to expose that space. But if you're playing Serbia, or example, another one of the teams in the group, and they've got a winger who's looking to get in behind, someone like Walker might actually allow the race to happen. Whereas someone like Trent pushes on so much that they actually become a second left back, second whatever defensive player in a system. I see what you're saying, Tom. I definitely do. I just think Mbappe might actually be the only player.
It might have been too tactically smart for what Southgate is as a manager.
Yeah,
I
actually think you're spot on there. And I think Tony mentioned that a little bit earlier, is that maybe the best thing to do here for Southgate is to just like keep things simple. It's another new squad again. You know, you go and start talking about inverting and playing players in different roles. It's like, hang on, Southgate's not worked with these players an awful lot in terms of tactically you doing this little intricate role or this sort of difference. Actually, the best thing probably to do is maybe keep things a little bit more simple. Make sure that the gelling of the squad is there and the understanding of what's required as an absolute basic is there. Because I think in tournaments gone by, especially the last one at the World Cup, I feel like that wasn't there as much. And I think if you go back before Southgate, that's something we always struggled with. We kind of tried to run before we could walk, and we'd squeeze players into systems. Actually, what you should do is pick a system and say, this is my squad, and I'll alter it if I see the need to, if I see fit. Yeah. If I play Anthony Gordon on the left, because he's the only natural left winger I've chosen, I back that. That's my decision as the England manager. I'm going to do that. I'm not going to squeeze Foden in there. If it means Foden doesn't play, it means Foden doesn't play. And if Southgate gets sacked on that, then Southgate gets sacked or his contract isn't renewed on that. He needs to live and die by his sword, basically, in his decisions. And I think the best thing he can do is just keep things simple. Try not to be too intricate, because I actually think that's above his pay grade. You know, if you've got Pep in there, I think people listen instantly. They go, oh, yeah, no, I understand why he's asking me to do that. But if Southgate says it, they go, oh, did you see Pep do that? Did you? You know what I mean? That's kind of what I think. Like maybe it needs to be a little bit more simple, like for gelling a squad of players together that don't play together regularly, all in the same system.
Let's go and move on from the England. We'll still have Friday to talk about England. Let me do a couple of super chats before we move on to some of the transfer news. Arsenal, Tevin, thank you, Tevin, for the donation for the super chat. He's saying, Arsenal fans, please, going forward, let's leave player comparison conversations. Saka is worse than every top winger, specifically Chelsea wingers. I honestly don't want him to play for England. Just take the summer off, my bro.
That's an Arsenal fan.
Yeah, he's been.
Tevin is definitely an Arsenal fan.
Yeah, he's saying he doesn't want Saka to go so he doesn't like get injured and stuff. So he's
he's definitely an Arsenal fan.
Yeah.
Thank you, Tevin. Yeah, this conversation between him and every single winger now around in the world is to be honest getting silly. To be honest, every single winger is better than him. Off meta professor, not taking Grealish was a mistake. Wins free kick like no one, but also he's a left winger. Forget free kicks. He's just a left winger. Like, even though I don't like Grealish, he definitely deserved to be there.
I think Grealish always does a purpose for England as well. Grealish doesn't have many great games for England. Grealish doesn't have many great games in general for the most people. But Grealish is there to facilitate. And I can't think of many bad games Grealish has had for England. I remember him during the Euros. Everyone was clamouring for him to start. And Southgate, to be fair to him, kept him on the bench for the whole tournament. But it was the right decision because Grealish would come on when the game was open for it.
Mm-hmm.
Grealish is there to do a job, and I feel like not taking him means that we're putting an awful lot of emphasis on Anthony Gordon being this fantastic two-way winger, which I don't think he's been for Newcastle.
The pressure might be too much for Anthony Gordon.
Do you think that Eze has been taken as Jack Grealish's replacement, though, as the player to come off the bench as a spark? Yeah, I do. I wonder that with Southgate.
Eze played left wing. Played left wing the other night. I thought he looked excellent.
Did.
Yeah.
Oh, right.
That's my wonder with that.
Yeah.
I think the one thing I'll give Grealish over Eze is I think Grealish's decision making is probably better than Eze's at this point. I think Eze would be better in a situation where you're chasing a game, and then my argument would be England probably have players on the bench who you'd bring on ahead of Eze. So when is this situation going to open up for an Eze type of impact? If you get me, whereas Grealish, he knows he's very good at retaining the ball. He knows the correct decisions to make when retaining the ball. He can just keep things ticking over, which is kind of what Southgate likes because he doesn't like attacking football.
Yeah, I will say with Grealish, when City were at their best this season, which wasn't actually that often, but when they were, Grealish was on the field and then he got bloody injured. Games against Copenhagen, and there's other examples as well. He didn't have a great season. He's got stuff going on off the field and stuff, but I would still take Grealish. I'll be honest. One of you guys said earlier. Sorry, I think it may have been Dan, but Ivan Toney, I'd have him out the squad anyway. I know that's not a straight replacement for position, but I'd have Grealish as another option in there. I would definitely have Grealish in the squad. Not sure if I'd have him starting, to be honest, because he, in the more recent displays towards the end, he was very poor for City. But I would have him in the squad as that option. He's very intelligent and he's very good. If you're leading a game, he's very, very clever at keeping the ball and so on.
Yeah, guys, there's about 950 of you here. We aren't even on 300 likes. And also, I am just less than 50 subscribers away from 21,800 subscribers. So I'm sure there's 100 or 150 of you that haven't subscribed, that are watching without subscribing. If you want to subscribe, turn on the notification bell, subscribe. And also, let's get to 400 likes. It's at least half the value, guys, of people, like 950 people. We can get to 400 likes live on air right now. Off Meta Professor. England have the perfect squad to play 3 at the back, but Southgate has no idea how to play anything but 4-2-3-1. I honestly fear another England failure. I'm just gonna, off Meta Professor, I'm just gonna tell you something. Anything other than winning the tournament at this point for England is a failure. And I don't think England will win the tournament. So embrace yourself. Like, I don't think England will win the tournament. I think France is before you. Germany, because they're the host nation, right? Even though the squad is not great, but I think because it's before you. And I think England may be third. So anything other than winning the tournament is going to be a failure.
I mean, ironically, off Meta Professor, Southgate knows how to play a 3 at the back because he done it in his first 2 tournaments.
Yeah.
He's just moved away from it because he doesn't like the wing
Maybe
back.
even Portugal. Portugal, we think ahead of England. No, I don't think Portugal has that talent as much as England.
Really?
I do.
Really?
Yeah,
we can look at this Friday. We can look at the squads more on Friday, but I don't think so, to be honest. Like, I'm looking at them. Goncalo Ramos up top. I'm sorry. Like,
don't play Ramos, though, do they?
Ronaldo?
They're playing it.
Cristiano
They're playing it different way
Ronaldo.
now, aren't they?
It's 2024.
He scored 50 goals.
Yeah.
If they got
Ronaldo
players,
will always
Arabia.
score goals.
yeah.
In Saudi Arabia.
If it's Ronaldo's last tournament, right, is he not just going to
Maybe
be like
I need to look at the squad again.
different
to be
animal?
honest with you. I didn't.
know.
To be honest, I didn't. I'm just going by
You got a
maybe
good
because
squad,
I watched
man.
the Premier League. To be honest, let me just finish this and then. The issue for me is Kane drops way too deep, so it completely destroyed the reasoning of box midfield, in my opinion. Yeah, very
true.
very
by the way.
good.
Harry Kane does
very
that
good argument, to
at
be honest.
every team he's ever been at, and it causes a serious issue.
Very
It
good.
works when you've got wingers that will run inside and finish the chances. But no offense to Saka or Gordon, they're not a Heung-min Son. So
Well,
you
I
kind
think-
of run into a problem where
Yeah.
the
I'll finish
wingers
the
don't
rest and
end
then
up
we can
getting in
go
those
on.
positions.
Is that okay? Tevin, thank you, Tevin, for the support. If Walker has to be used, it should only be for specific scenarios. Trent is needed when teams sit back. Both can be utilized. So it's what Rory was talking about. You don't need him in the group stage. Just focus on the group stage. Get out. When you face France and if it's someone like this, use Kyle Walker. Thank you, Tevin. Literally, Rory said that. Appreciate you. Liverpool season. English invented the beautiful game, but why are these English managers wasting talent decade after decade? It's actually disheartening. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe the players are overrated. Maybe that's the case. Or
I
maybe you
think the
can't
squad's-
find the manager.
Sorry, mate. I think the squad is the way people talk about it is England. Oh, they should be doing this. They've got the best squad in so on. Here at every tournament, better than everybody. They should be. I don't think it's that good. I mean, especially that keeper and back line. I'm sorry, it's really not as.
They're
good
all
as
right.
it-
They're just all right. Yeah.
Yeah,
You don't like. I can't
squad.
remember an elite goalkeeper for England. I didn't live through Peter
Since
Shilton.
David Seaman.
Even
Seaman,
David
yeah.
Seaman.
David
Seaman
Seaman
like
was
elite.
alright, wasn't he? Do you know what? There's a period
We're
of time,
talking.
right?
We're talking elite guys like
Okay,
Iker
period of
Casillas,
time.
Baliuka,
There's no doubt
Buffon.
about it, by the way, that
Manuel
Joe Hart was
Neuer.
elite for a period of time as well. For a small period of time, actually away from tournaments, I actually think Joe Hart was elite. But away from tournaments,
that's-
never
okay,
happened
you
at a
see
tournament.
You see that?
Yeah.
That is it. When I'm telling you, the names we're talking about for other like nations, like
Oh
the
yeah,
Casillas,
spot on.
the Buffon. Yeah, it's not nowhere near that. You know, the Baliuka and Manuel Neuer, for example, for
Yeah, but
Germany.
the issue
Before that
is,
was
at
Jens Lehmann and
tournaments,
Oliver
though-
Kahn. This
Yeah,
is
but
Walter
okay.
Zinga for Italy.
But
in-
at tournaments, Pickford's done nothing wrong. Pickford has done nothing wrong under Southgate, has he, at tournaments? Now, I'm
Pickford's
probably
always
cursing
performed very
now,
well.
but I can't think of him doing something wrong.
Yeah, maybe more Euro predictions. It's expectations. My predictions is that France to win it. That's my predictions, to be honest. Otherwise, I don't know. I don't know that. It's one of the unknown Euros. Italy squad is very weak this tournament. I think Germany's squad is not as great as before, so that's what I know. Moving on to from England to Foden, new contract, the 375 or 400k, whatever. He's gonna be the highest paid English player ever. Is that something that we think, yes, he's worth it? I know Dan has to go. So yeah, Dan, give us 10 minutes.
Yeah,
I want to let Tony talk about this, to be honest. And guys, thank you everybody for being 300 likes. Let's push to 400. Let's get the subscribers high, a little bit high. We can push the likes up so we can get 1,000 people watching live. That'd be great as well. Tony, go ahead. Phil Foden.
Well, you're going to be very unsurprised to hear that, yes, yeah, he absolutely deserves it. I mean, he's just won the Player of the Year, right, as a Player of the Year, whatever those awards are. 27 goals, 12 assists, I think, across all competitions, somewhere in that ballpark. The game is more than stats. You know, I'm sure you've all seen him play. He is as talented or as good as an England player is in that squad, in my view. When I look at that first 11 of English players, he's as good as anybody in there, if not the best player. Like I said earlier, Kane maybe and Declan Rice. But he absolutely deserves it. He has led City this season. We've missed De Bruyne for half the season in a different spot, perhaps. Well, definitely is Haaland, who's been sort of out for 10 weeks or so. And he has led and he has scored and led this team and showed the attributes to take him to the next level. He is world class. People talk about him still like, oh, he can be world class. Oh, he's a star boy. He's not the star boy could be. He is world class. And he has proved it this season with the people falling down around him. As I say, he has led, stepped up. For England, like Rory said, yep, fine, performances maybe, but who does play well for England in an attacking spot? I couldn't really pick anybody out for many a year, to be honest. But for City and his new contract, 375, which I think is the same as De Bruyne, although he's hopefully going to renew shortly. I think Haaland's probably on more. But yeah, the way the game's going, 375, it sounds ludicrous, but Casemiro's on bloody 450 or something, isn't he? Casemiro, you know, that's bloody madness. So in terms of that, yeah, he's absolutely worth it. And if it keeps him here another 6, 7, 8 years, he's worth every penny of it. He is amazing. Sorry, I'm a bit.
It's a lot of money.
No,
it's a lot of money.
Yeah, but football has a lot of money to spend, and I think if you're going to put it on a player that can get you 20 goals in a Premier League season, and most of them without penalties, why not? Honestly, Foden absolutely deserves that. After, if you look at the comparison around the league for the players that have achieved similar to what he's done, he absolutely deserves that. I don't think it's outrageous to suggest that he'd be earning over 350 grand a week in this day and age as a football player for the best club in the country, and be one of the best players in that team as well. I just don't think it is.
Yeah, I think that's the thing.
Maybe it's just the way I see it. Like I look at the way that the money in the Premier League, like the top earners, De Bruyne, yeah, he deserves that money. He's been arguably the best player in the past 7 years. Haaland, yeah, broke loads of mad records in his first season. Then it's Salah, who, yes, for obvious reasons, him and De Bruyne arguably sit at the same level for the past 7, 8 years in terms of individual performance levels. And then you get to like Sterling's, who's overpaid, Casemiro overpaid. There's another United one in there who I can't remember, but he's overpaid.
Mason Mount.
I think it was Varane, to be honest. I might be wrong, but I think it was Varane. It's not to say Foden hasn't been good and he deserves, a pay rise and a new deal, but to put him right at that top level, maybe it's just the way I see it. Obviously, he's worth more to City being, a Manchester lad and a fan of the club growing up. But I'd say closest to the 300 range would probably be like where I would have tried to get it to. I think putting him right at that top bracket will push City's entire wage bill over the next years to a similar level, if you get me. Unless Foden can all of a sudden take the next step again and prove that he's head and shoulders above most other people in the squad. and that maybe it's just how I watch football. I wouldn't want. We've got renewals coming up this summer, i.e., Trent needs one, and it's a similar situation to what Foden's in. I wouldn't want to give Trent 350 grand a week if I'm being honest. I'd want to try and get him on 250-ish.
Yeah, but no offense to Trent, he's not performed anywhere near like Foden has. Foden is, way above in terms of his performances for City. So, look, it's a lot of money.
I'm sorry. Sorry, say that again, Tony.
Yeah.
Say that. You mean this season only?
What's that?
That Trent hasn't played up to the level of Foden.
Well, certainly this past season, but
but this past season Trent has been still good, but he's been injured. But over the career, definitely Trent has had a more influential career than Phil Foden.
Oh, 100% he has. No,
okay, hold on.
No, let's not do this.
This is why I stopped here. I really thought Tony's talking about last season, so I needed to actually confirm that. No, hold on. Foden was not essential to Manchester City until this last season. Before that, he was one of the guys. I can argue and sit here and say Liverpool might not have won the league, the Champions League, the trophies they won under Jurgen Klopp if it wasn't for Trent being that influential from right back. Am I wrong to say that? No, are we serious?
Trent's been massive.
Look, I'm not discrediting Trent. I'm not saying he's a bad player, but Foden,
Tony, you literally said Trent has not played up to the level of Foden.
Trent has right. I want to use my words correctly here, so people don't try and misconstrue it. Trent has arguably redefined what a Premier League fullback is in terms of the impact they can have on games and how influential he can be on games. In terms of running games from that position, Trent Alexander-Arnold broke the assist record for a defender. Then the next season, broke his own record that he set the previous year
for
a defender from right back, whilst also being the right back in a team that had the best defensive record.
Do you know what, though? You keep saying it, though. Right back's just not that attractive, though, is it, to demand that kind of wage?
Yes.
Do you know what I mean?
Do you know what?
Does anyone not agree with that?
Trent, this is my point.
Yeah, we're not disagreeing with that at all. We're not disagreeing, but I am just disagreeing with the statement that Tony made that Trent has not been up to the level of Foden for Liverpool than Foden for Man City, which is, I think, is completely the opposite. Foden actually has not showed me that consistently over season that Trent has been playing since he was 19 years old.
Has Trent I'm not actually disagreeing with you, Mo, but has Trent ever had a season be as good as what Foden's just had this past season?
I mean, would you say, if I'm going off a basis here, would you say a year where he got close to 20 assists in all comps whilst winning the Premier League, whilst winning the Champions League, or the next year getting 20 assists in all comps on top of 5 goals and winning the Premier League with 99 points whilst being
25 GA is close for a defender for right back is literally, I think it's harder to do than a forward player plays. I don't know, in the most.
I would understand. My point as well, and why I keep mentioning it, I would get it if you were trying to suggest that he was doing it at the cost of the team. But Trent was starting pretty much every game as we had the best defense in the league, if not in Europe, for 2 years in a row. So he can't have been that much either. Trent's a liability defensively, and one of Van Dijk or Alisson are the greatest to ever play in their role to carry a 3-man back line. Or Trent's actually a pretty decent defender, and he was able to redefine what the position can do in an attacking sense for the past 6 years, all at the same time. I lean more so to the second one because I think that's more realistic than Virgil van Dijk being the greatest centre-back to ever breathe, because he was able to carry a back line which had a liability in there. Phil Foden's an incredible footballer, and Phil Foden just produced an incredible season. But Trent Alexander-Arnold was arguably the best right back in the world for 4 years.
I'm going to argue something completely different. This is the first time, Tony. I know that Foden had a fantastic season this season, and because Kevin De Bruyne was injured and Haaland was injured, it highlighted his performances. But in reality, Phil Foden has not had a 20 GA ever, and he's 23 years old, 24. and he plays in the most offensive team in the world.
Mm.
So it's the first season we see this ever. This is
Right.
what we're talking about.
What was it? In
I'm
the
not
end?
knocking
30,
him down
30
at
what?
all. I'm not knocking him down at all. But in the league, he was never Man City's fourth best player until this season. Fourth, fifth best player.
How,
There were
how
five
does that
more
compare
players.
age-wise, Mo? By the way,
But
how old was
he's 24. He's 2 years
how old was
behind
Trent when he broke in?
It's not only Trent. It's not how old was it? Say that again.
How old was Trent in comparison to Phil Foden having like their first exceptional seasons?
Trent was 20 years old. 21
20,
years
yeah,
old.
okay, fair.
Trent was 19
Wow.
when
So
in
yeah,
18,
so yes,
19, which is
Dan,
what I class
when
as
Trent
the
came, because I
boom
think
year.
Gomez got injured and they had to play Trent in the 18-19 season. And found out
No, 18-19 was Trent's year. So 17-18 was
17,
when
18,
Gomez and
second
Trent were
half of the
debating.
season. Yeah.
But
Second half of the season.
He had a very good final against Real Madrid, which people seem
Yes.
to forget. But 18-19 was the real breakout year. He played 30 games in the league, played every game in the Champions League, got en route to winning the
He was
tournament.
20 years old then. So this is what I'm talking about.
Yeah, wow.
He is forcing himself into the squad, because when Gomez came back, by the way, from the injury that he had in that season, if I can remember, he sat on the bench.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm not, or played center back or something like
Joe
this.
Gomez was the centre back. Yeah.
Center back at that time. But that's the thing, that Trent at 20 years old was influential by, I mean, if you take him out of Liverpool might not win some of the games they won. While for the majority of the time,
I'll put it this way, Mo.
and people
We
need to
don't
understand this. I am not
on a purely base level. You don't win the Champions
League. Very important, then, because this is when people don't take my words out of context. I am not saying Foden has not had a good season. I'm saying as influential as this season, he arguably was the most influential player in the league this season. We can argue this, right? Especially in the final game when he literally took it upon his shoulders and in his hands, like, I'm winning this league for City. I haven't seen this before. It's an amazing season this season, but before, he was good, but not exceptional. Was he exceptional?
No. Yeah, he was maybe not.
See you, Dan. Appreciate you, Dan.
Yeah, pleasure, boys. Cheers.
Cheers, Dan.
Maybe not to the level of last season, but Mo, he did exist. He played pretty well. He played 32 games, got 16 goals and assists the previous season. He has been an integral part. He has started at least 28 of the 38 games of the last 4 seasons where we have won the league every season. He has not just turned up this past season. He's been absolute top draw for a few years. The thing Foden's got against him is City have got a lot of world-class players, whereas Liverpool perhaps don't have as many world-class players. So Trent can sort of shine more, but City have De Bruyne and whoever else, or Rodri and people like that. So it's harder for Foden maybe to come out, but that doesn't take away from anything he's done previous to this season. He's been fantastic for a few years. And yeah, if you ask any City fan, they'll tell you he's integral to what we've won the last few years, certainly last season. And look, I'll make it clear, because I'll get a load of shit after this, I know.
Why? It's an opinion, right?
Oh, don't you worry. You lads will all know what it's like. You get bloody hammered for saying anything. But I'm not saying Trent is a bad player.
Wait until Rory talks.
I'm just saying Foden is that one of them.
I can't. I've got to disagree. Look, I think for the impact Foden's had this year, Trent was doing that 4 or 5 years ago when we were good, and then even when we were bad, like last year especially, the only reason we had a chance at top 4 last year was because Trent Alexander-Arnold put the team on his back for the final 10 games and was man of the match in pretty much every single one of them. He is even the season just gone, where us two back on the top of the table, potentially a little bit biased, and I know that there was a reason why City didn't really have anyone in the race at this point. From November to January, I would say Trent Alexander-Arnold was the best player in the league. And every single game, he was either getting the match-winning goal, the match-saving goal, match-saving assist, running the game from right back. He's done that for years now. And yes, the argument of City have more world-class players in Foden's position, but Liverpool have had a lot of world-class players in Trent's time, and Trent has still stood out at that point. And in terms of big moments, I think he was man of the match in the game against Barcelona, in the 4-0 comeback. Obviously got the biggest assist with the corner, assisted Wijnaldum's goal, kept a clean sheet. In the final, kept a clean sheet. In the year he won the league, that was his best individual year numbers-wise. In the league, he got 13 goals and 4 assists from right back. I can't think of many other fullback seasons which have more goals and assists. And yes, obviously people try and beat him with the stick of, well, he can't defend. It's a lazy narrative because he can. He isn't a bad individual defender.
He can't, but fine. But
he can, though.
Yeah.
He cannot, but fine.
He can. Let's not do it because
any forward in the world would fancy themselves 1-on-1 against.
Yeah. Is that why Ronaldo had to swap sides in a Champions League final against an 18-year-old version of him because he couldn't get any joy out of him? Ronaldo, yes, go back to that final. Ronaldo had to swap sides and go on to the right to try and get any joy.
I'll go check. Anyway, we're not going to be dwelling.
Promise you. But if you go back and watch that final, second half, Ronaldo goes on to the right.
When was that?
2018. The one we lost 3-1.
It's 2024. So maybe he used to defend that time. I can't remember.
Even if you want this season, even if you want this season, even if you want this season, Matoma's seen as one of the best, most exciting, hardest wingers to defend against in the league. Trent Alexander-Arnold gave him fuck all at the amateur this year.
Okay,
Gomez,
I don't want to dwell
comes on.
I don't want to dwell on.
Gomez comes on and he's exposed.
We're not talking about Trent. We're just talking about Foden.
Well, yeah, all I can say is, would Trent definitely get into that City 11? I'm not so sure. Would Foden get in Liverpool's? Absolutely, without any doubt. So I know that isn't necessarily the defining factor, but look, City fan says City player.
Can I counter that? This Liverpool team is different, but the winning Liverpool team, would he get over any other midfield or Salah on the right side or Mane on the left?
The midfield had to defend.
Yes, exactly. They wouldn't play him. He wouldn't fit in that midfield.
It's not a knock on Foden as a player.
Why now
that
Henderson, Fabinho, he wouldn't play? That is. But we're not gonna be dwelling on this. But this notion that he would start for every team, that is not true. That is not true. This season has been exceptional.
If you go back, can I
and if, by the way, I'm gonna argue this again. Sorry, Tom. I'm gonna argue this. The Trent that was man of the match in every game for Liverpool, that was so influential. If he was given to a coach like Pep Guardiola, he would find a way to force him into the lineup to make use of his abilities. I would argue that as well. He was so influential to that point.
Let's go back a couple of years to 21-22, which was when the last time both our sides really went head-to-head. Do you think if at the start of the season Pep Guardiola was given the option of Joao Cancelo or Trent Alexander-Arnold for the whole season, who does he take?
Well, now definitely Trent. Yeah, it's good. It's a good question. It's a good point. Maybe Trent, but that's Cancelo.
I think we both know.
Tony. He adjusted for Cancelo.
I think we both know
Cancelo's ability. He would have adjusted.
Trent under Pep would be a new level. If Trent Alexander-Arnold got the chance to work under Pep Guardiola for a number of years, he would reach a new level in terms of how he can play as a footballer, because he'd have the best manager of all time, in my opinion, coaching him in a role that the best manager of all time was recently brought back into popularity with that inverted fullback stuff. But I stand by that. If there was one player Pep could have taken from Liverpool's team that wasn't, Virgil van Dijk, he would take Trent Alexander-Arnold and work his team around Trent and Kevin De Bruyne as the chief creators, because no team in the world would stop that.
Yeah, no, that's fine.
Which in the same way, I would say if Foden goes to Liverpool now after last season, the majority of the coaches would adjust their system to accommodate for him.
We'd actually play a 10. We'd play a 10.
Does that make sense, Tony? Like that notion, like if Foden goes to any team now, people would over that last season, people would adjust their system to accommodate him. Foden.
Oh yeah,
100%. I agree with that for sure. Like people would play pivot, people would play double D, people would do something to accommodate for Foden. So let's just get that straight. To be honest.
Yeah, there's no team Foden doesn't get in. He is that good now. Look, I know I'm a City fan and I'm going to get the bias stuff, but he is that good. He gets into all the teams, and that even
100%. That last season, Foden was amazing. To be honest, just mind what I think. Like, to be honest, like this is why would argue that last season, especially coming clutch at the end, I think that proves a lot. By the way, him scoring the goal in the last game, I think it makes a difference as well. And even how I judge him, the pressure at his ground, the fans, and all the stuff. That's what I think.
Okay.
I
Go
think,
ahead, Rory.
yeah, I just think that the one thing is when you talk about him getting into this side, that side, and the other side, we are still yet to, and it's not his fault, but we are yet to ever see Foden perform well outside of a Pep system. And when he does get those opportunities for England, like we said, he struggles. So it is possible that he would go to another club that didn't play the Pep way and struggle. So, yeah. And 375 grand a week, back to the original point. Again, it's quite steep. If you compare it to, makes him the third highest paid player in the league behind De Bruyne and Haaland, I think.
Yeah, the same as De Bruyne. Yeah.
Yeah. That is quite steep for a player that, look, he's been good for City, but effectively he's had one kind of very, very good season last season. If you compare it to other wage bills at other teams, I think it's a bit steep, but
Guys, it's 400 likes. Listen, if City can pay that for their star player, it's of course he deserves that because it's on paper he's the guy who's gonna be the superstar after Kevin De Bruyne, so he deserves that. To be honest, it's just for me. If Arsenal, for example, have to play somebody that much money, it would be one of the superstars, no matter who you think he is. It would be Saka, it would be Odegaard, it will be
we wouldn't
pay that much money, Rory. But let's imagine if Odegaard tomorrow is in 375k, like Kevin De Bruyne. If Saka's playing to that level, he would turn around and say, "I'm playing the same level. I want the same money." It's like it's the same wage. If I'm as influential as this player, I want the same wage. Especially for a forward player.
It's different when it would be different with Odegaard and Saka compared to, in my opinion, De Bruyne and Foden, because Odegaard and Saka really started to come up at Arsenal at the same time. So they've been as influential for the same period of time. With Foden has played a part for City, and he's been important for City across a number of years. But Kevin De Bruyne has been arguably the best player in the league for 7 years. That is where the difference in
that's the only thing. Again, it's the only thing with Foden is that you have done it to that level, and you just earned it. But Kevin De Bruyne has to do it year after year after year, being one of the best players in the world, right?
I also
earn that much money.
I also think. Look, Foden had a very, very good season last season. I do think at times it gets a little bit overrated. I could probably think of 2 or 3 seasons that De Bruyne had in the Premier League that were significantly better. Not significantly better, but definitely better than Foden last season. Like, it was a very good season, but it wasn't like, absolutely blowing you away.
You've got to take into account the age and how long it's for as well. If he's on 375 for the next 6 years and he's still as good a player as he is this season, he's worth every penny. In terms of the market now, if De Bruyne's hopefully about to renew, and it'll probably be higher. I expect it'll be 400 or more, no doubt. But I'm not. De Bruyne, in my view, is the best player, arguably one of the best ever in the Premier League, certainly of this past decade.
Yeah, 100%.
Any doubt he's the best player in the Premier League, along with Salah and all these other top players. But De Bruyne is a level above, and I see what you're saying about him matching De Bruyne, although I think De Bruyne's going to go up. But if you're getting Foden,
you think De Bruyne is going to make more? Anyway, listen, I wanted to before we're moving on from this, I wanted to just ask, because I don't want to stay here for long. Julian Alvarez, is that something that Arsenal should entertain at all? Is he someone that Arsenal should go for?
If I have it,
you're muted.
You muted yourself, Tom.
You muted yourself.
But no, I don't. Well, I haven't really. I've not seen us. We've not been linked to Alvarez, have we, man? Is this just like a?
There is some. Yeah, I don't think they're particularly reliable. I think they've thrown your name in because you bought Jesus and so on, and they probably just got Arsenal.
I mean, I don't think City would be particularly keen on selling us another player anyway. And I'm
Hey,
just,
they might give you Sergio Gomez.
Calvin Phillips is available. You want him?
Yeah, no, I'm all right, thank you.
Um,
So no, I don't think he'll come to us, but it'd be interesting. I think he's a great player. I think he'd improve our squad for sure.
I think Arsenal would have needed an Alvarez more so if Havertz hadn't worked out. But I still stand by the belief that Havertz is a good option to have up top. Arsenal should be looking for a striker who offers something completely different to Havertz. They need a plan B.
No. The majority of Arsenal fans want Havertz to be the starting striker next season. They want to try to see, can he replicate that half season he played up top?
Yes,
for the whole season?
and I agree, but I'm on about the backup. So whoever
You think
Arsenal
it's
sign
not going to be a backup? Okay.
whoever the other guy Arsenal sign, it shouldn't be another player who has the same skill set as Havertz, someone who drops deep, someone who links up. It should be someone who offers something different. So when Havertz isn't working out, they can go to plan B. So I think that was a problem that Arsenal ran into around the midway point of the season. I think back to Fulham, it just felt like they had no plan B. So it was just plan A but harder. And when plan A isn't working, plan A but harder doesn't work either. So I think Arsenal need to look at signing a... I use it for names just because I can compare the names without really suggesting it. I know that the link with Sesko, I'd look at the other striker that Leipzig have in Openda, who is smaller, quicker, more diminutive, plays off the shoulder rather than drops deep. That's the kind of striker I think Arsenal should be looking at for the backup rather than another guy who's going to be link up, drop deep, try and facilitate for the wingers to come in. I just think you need a plan B. I think that's what every top team needs. And I think the only team that really does have it is City.
Yeah, Arsenal.
The issue is...
Sorry.
No, go on, Ted. Go on, Ted.
Arsenal miss. If Arsenal, I know there's very few Haalands, okay, but if Arsenal had a Haaland or someone similar of that nature, they probably would have won the league. They missed that striker, and Alvarez is not it. His goals and assists on paper look great. I think he's very similar to Jesus. Similar type of player to Jesus, like Tom was saying, with the link up and so on. So I don't think Alvarez will go to Arsenal. I doubt Arsenal want Alvarez, but I do see Alvarez leaving City this summer or next, but not to Arsenal. So,
yeah, that's because people are saying that he came up. Like I went back and I checked his quote, and he's saying that I'm calm, I feel good, I'm happy at Manchester City, and I will see what happens. When people say I will see what happens, it just opens the door. You know, like Rodrigo at Real Madrid, he said, I am not leaving. I'm happy at Real Madrid. I am not leaving. I don't want to leave. It was like clear-cut answer. I don't want to leave. He's like, we'll see what happens. You know what I mean? It's like, well, I am happy here, of course, but if something comes my way, I wouldn't mind it. This is why it's all about what people say. Like, I still think that Julian Alvarez needs to go to Spain to be a center point for a team, like Atletico Madrid, for example, or I don't know who else, or a Girona, or something like this. He needs to be the centerpiece, or he goes, replaces Lewandowski up top and be the centerpiece for Barcelona, for example, something like that. If he goes to Arsenal, is he going to start? Is he going to start over Havertz? The fact that we're having this conversation is actually mind-blowing to me. And this is not an agenda against Alvarez. We went from Julian Alvarez, one of the best forwards in the world and all this World Cup, to will he sit on the bench for Kai Havertz? You guys think that it went down so quickly. And you know why? It's not because of his ability. It's because how Pep tried to use him in the midfield, left wing, right wing, behind the forward. And he tried to get the best out of him. And I don't know if it's Pep's fault or Alvarez's fault, to be honest. I'm not pointing fingers. I'm just saying the circumstances that at the end, Julian Alvarez's season, even though he had good numbers, look bad. If you ask any City fan, it looks bad. Julian Alvarez's any neutral, Julian Alvarez's season doesn't look good. It just doesn't. He was shoved in the lineup, played left, played behind the forwards, didn't have a position basically, and City fans were screaming, "Get him out of the lineup!" the majority of the time.
Yeah, he's a good player. I mean, the thing is, this is where people who judge football on stats, are wrong, should we say? Because Alvarez's stats and when you see what he's won is unbelievable. I'm not taking away that he's a good player. He is definitely a good player. And I hope he stays at City. I think he's a terrific squad player, like Rory said he would be for Arsenal, I think. He's a very, very good player. But I personally see him leaving this summer, maybe next, just because I think he needs to be playing. You look at Paris. I mean, they could be one who are looking at him, and he does start for most teams. I don't think he starts for every team, definitely not. But I think he's one of those awkward players where he's too good to sort of just play the odd game. And if Haaland's injured, oh great, I'll fall in. But he's not quite good enough to start at the top level that City need. I don't think. That's always been my view of Alvarez. Very good, just not at that level.
Yeah, I don't know, to be honest. But listen, on this note, there's a couple of super chats actually that needs to be done. Can Trent do what he gets paid to do? Defend.
Yes, that's why he was part of in 2018-19, 2019-20, and 21-22. He started most games in the best defense in the league each of them 3 years. But he can't defend. So again, I asked the question: is it either Trent can't defend, and everyone now has to unanimously accept that Van Dijk and Alisson are the greatest to ever play in their positions because they kept the best defensive record whilst having a liability next to them, or Trent can actually defend and it's a lazy narrative? Which one do we want?
It's a lazy narrative. It always has been. This idea that he just physically cannot defend. He can. He makes mistakes. You know, he probably isn't. He isn't the strongest defender when it comes to dealing with one-on-ones against tricky wingers. But you know, like you said, you can't be in the best defense in the league if you're not a good defender.
I also find it funny that this is a Madrid fan, yet his team are pretty much on their knees for Trent.
Yeah.
Why would your team be on their knees for a player who can't defend? Also, Madrid's fullbacks have notoriously been better attackers than defenders. Look at Marcelo and Roberto Carlos, for example. That they could defend, they were just better attacks. Same with Trent. But no one ever beat Marcelo with the stick of, oh, look at him, he can't defend. So what are we doing here, man?
I don't know, to be honest. But in my opinion, I think Trent can defend. Cannot.
Is that
Cannot.
Oh, here we go. Here we go. I'm not even getting into it with Mo at the minute.
Is it stats or watching football with my eyes? Position-wise, he's absolutely horrendous. One-on-one, he's terrible. He isn't
so then, Mo, how do you explain my argument of
one game? Anybody?
No, not of one game.
I've had amazing players, had amazing games, even every now and then. Generally speaking, if I look at Trent, he's defensive. He isn't his best attribute. I'm not saying he cannot.
I'm not saying
he is Kai Havertz or Martinelli defensively or like Erling Haaland defensively. I'm not saying that. He's not a striker. He's a right back. He was coached for some time to defend, but I think he's not his best attribute. If I'm dividing Trent's abilities, I would say it's 80% going forward, 20% defensive. While someone like Kyle Walker is 80% defensive, 20% going forward.
Yes. So then, whilst I disagree with the split, I think it's a bit closer than that. But my point would be: so are we now then just saying that Van Dijk's the greatest centre back of all time because Trent can't defend? Yet he was starting
in the history of the Premier League. Yes.
No, but we all know that's not true, is it? So what is it?
How do you know that's not true? That's my opinion. Why do you say it's not true? It's Mo's opinion.
So do you think Virgil
I literally argued that with everyone.
Fantastic. I've hit something new then.
I argued that with everyone. I said I have seen no individual defender better than Van Dijk as long as I have watched the Premier League. I haven't. This is just
the thing is, Mo, I think you're because of the way that you weigh up your percentages of defending and attacking, and your assumption is, well, he is a defender, so he has to defend. That should be the higher percentage. I just don't think that's the way that football is anymore.
Which is I agree with. By the way, when I say Trent can defend, I would still make a system to make it work around him.
Yeah.
Which is what they did with the coverage and the Henderson running and all the. Me saying that was sometimes people would, when Kyle Walker I say can go forward, I would still by the way, I still play Kyle Walker because I think the pace and the physicality, right, it makes the team, it allows the team to push more players forward. But anyway, that's a different story. Trent to Madrid is my nightmare. Oh my god. Yeah, oh my god.
Just real quick for the Newcastle fans who are trying to go on about Dan Burn was in the best defense. Yes, once. There's a difference between being in it 3 times in 4 years and once. 3 times in 4 years is consistency. You can't fluke consistency. There must be a clear pattern there. One time, you can fluke it. But 3 times in 4 years is consistency. On this, there's a Madrider on their knees for him. He would not be the nightmare. Imagine Mbappe, Vinicius, Bellingham feeding off the chances that Trent creates, whilst he has Tchouameni and Camavinga and Valverde all running around alongside him, either doing dog's work or linking up with him. That would be the most and then if you want to add Alphonso Davies on top of that, oh my god. No team's beating that. No team is stopping that in the world. Jesus Christ.
Anyway, listen, I want to thank everybody that has been here. We almost at 400 likes. Let's get the subscription button. I want to thank Tony for joining us. Thanks, Dan, Rory, Tom for being here as well. I'm not sure about the schedule during the Euros. We'll figure it out together. All of us will figure it out. But probably the first 2 weeks is going to be very tough. We'll have to find time to do this. But it's definitely not going to be in the afternoon because of the games, unless there is a non-important game, which I don't think there is. But I want to thank everybody. This will take you to Football Terrace, of course. So I want to appreciate everyone that is here. Stay here. Don't go anywhere. Thank you guys for joining us. Appreciate you guys. And we'll see you guys soon. I might do another stream tonight. And we're out of here, people. Thank you.